Putin's invasion of Ukraine has driven up gas prices and food prices all over the world. Ukraine and Russia are the 1 and 2 largest wheat producers in the world. We're number 3. They're shut down. We saw that in yesterday's inflation data. What people don't know is that 70% of the increase in inflation was a consequence of Putin's price hike because of the impact on oil prices. 70%. We need to address these high prices, and urgently.
That's fantastic. Has anybody noticed how much of an old get off my lawn man he is now? Have you noticed that? He seems to be angry a lot of the times. And this is actually coming from some people in the White House saying that he gets a little out of control with his anger once in a while. But he'll turn on a dime. He looked angry. I was just watching this clip. He looked angry, but I don't know if you saw that clip earlier this week. I don't know, Stephen, if you have the clip, the one where he was, I can't remember what he said. I think it was about Putin maybe, but he all of a sudden he was like, no joke. Yeah. And he started yelling at the audience. You're like, oh, dude, man, you are really... Get the metal detector. It's time for you to walk on the beach.
This is super common with people going through what it appears Joe Biden is going through, right? When you start to kind of lose your...
Marbles
is one... That's the scientific term. I didn't want to get too deep into the science there.
Control of your bowels.
When you lose those things...
Yes, those things.
The normal interactions you have with people start to get really frustrating.
Yeah.
And when you feel like people are mocking you, you feel like people are laughing at you, you feel like you can't just pull up that piece of information is sitting there in your brain somewhere. This happens to older people all the time when they go through this, and they get frustrated and angry, and they lash out.
Can I tell you something? This is I had to get hearing aids this last week. So I went and got hearing aids, and the doctor said, "So what's your biggest frustration?" And I said, "My wife. My wife is." Yeah,
was that? I said, "Take my wife, please."
I said, "My wife is the biggest frustration because I cannot hear. I've lost my upper range of frequency."
This sounds a little selective by you.
It does.
I can hear everybody but my wife.
Yeah. And so I said, I can't hear her, and I'm constantly saying, wait, say that again. What? And,
Oh, she must love that.
Oh, she does.
Oh, yeah.
And then finally she's like, she'll be like, "You're not wearing pants," and I'll be like, "You don't have to yell at me."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she said, this is the biggest problem when you start to lose your hearing is you get really frustrated. Everybody else gets frustrated. And it's just this weird misunderstanding kind of thing. You're both feeling it in a different way. And she said... so she was doing some things, and I started to feel like, because word retrieval has become a little weird for me, and I'm like, I've never been good with words. Words ain't my friend, but word retrieval has become a little difficult, and this is like really early if I'm having problems with word retrieval. And so I went in and I did this test, and you do this test where you're following things on a screen, and it seemingly has nothing to do with hearing. And I'm like, okay, that was a fun test. I'm here for my ears. What? I said I'm here for my ears. You're not wearing pants. So anyway, she comes in and she said, your cognitive your cognitive is slowing down. And I said, right, okay, I didn't think I would hear that from the ear specialist, but yes, right? What's happening? And she said, that's normal. She said, you don't hear with your ears, you hear with your brain. So your ears pick up sound, and that sound wave has been connected to a word and a meaning. And so this sound comes in, and your brain usually doesn't, if it can hear clearly, doesn't have to work very hard to put the word in place, okay? But if you can't hear it, it then has to go through all of the words that might sound like and then put it into the sentence.
More processing time, essentially.
Right. So you're overloading because, there'd be sentences where I'm like, the chicken is wearing shoes? What did you just say? And that's what I'll really hear. Okay. And so it slows things down. And it's weird and frustrating. And, I'm not 90 or 80 where he's going to be 80. This guy, you look at him now, he's not there. We just did this special on Wednesday, and he's checked out. He's checked out. Look at him 5 years ago giving a speech. You could see it in his eyes. There's nothing there behind the eyes. Rarely is there something there behind the eyes with him. You're like, I don't think hello? Is anybody in there? I'm not sure that there is. Yesterday, there was this viral video that was going around of him at the end of a speech. Do we happen to have this where he was shaking hands with Niblet? Niblet?
God bless you all.
Now look, he turns and he looks like he's shaking hands with Niblet, the invisible Himalayan Sherpa.
What the heck?
Okay, then he just stands and looks and walks off. Okay, looks like a meandering guy. However, if you look at, we checked the camera angles. If you look at all the camera angles, it doesn't look as bad from all angles. It might have been just that angle. It didn't look like he was so befuddled with other angles. And I think it's important that we dismiss the things that are not. For instance, he's always said crazy things. But the things that he says occasionally now are much different than the crazy things he used to say.
And much more dangerous.
Yeah,
there is, I think, honestly, I'm glad you said that about looking at the other camera angles because, look, it's easy for us to find. You can always find stuff that makes Joe Biden look bad. I mean, he does it time after time after time. But I think it really is important for the American people to monitor the line here between where Joe Biden is, which is really bad in my opinion, and where it appears, unfortunately, Dianne Feinstein is, which is unable to seemingly do her job in any way. That now Democrats are saying that. We come out to the San Francisco Chronicle and said, hey, we've had meetings with her. She's introducing herself multiple times to us in the conversation.
She's not recognizing people who have worked on their staff. There's a joke on Capitol Hill that that there is what was it? It was like there is a great senior senator or a great junior senator from California and a great experienced staff from the senior senator's office.
Yeah. In other words, she can't
function at all. And what's amazing is nobody has a problem throwing her under the bus. She's become a liability for the hard left, I think. She's not woke enough for them, and they want somebody else. So they're throwing her under the bus, but they won't say a word about Joe Biden. And you can't.
And of course, it's the opposite. As far as importance goes, the opposite is the way to go. I mean, Joe Biden, well, one senator out of it is really bad, and I feel bad mainly for her.
Yeah.
But like our country can continue to survive that. Having the president out there calling in an answer on gas prices, accusing a country of genocide that has 6,000 nuclear weapons, right or wrong.
Right.
It should not be how it happened.
But I want to go back to that for a second. Let me take a quick break and come back because the 25th Amendment everybody's talking about, and we learned something this week on the show, on the TV show, that is really important to understand. So here's the interesting thing about the 25th Amendment. People say we ought to evoke the 25th Amendment. That's what Nancy Pelosi tried to do with changing the law to allow Congress to do it. But that Congress just changing a law does not change the Constitution. The Constitution was written in such a way, this particular law, that it can only be his side that pulls people out. So in other words, an opposing party that, like with Donald Trump, can't say, oh my gosh, he's crazy, we got to get him out, and then invoke the 25th Amendment. It has to be the vice president and what is it, a third?
I thought it was half the cabinet, but it's something like that.
Mm-hmm. So it has to be those guys that do it, the people that are in his administration that actually do something like that. It cannot be done any other way.
Well, there's another carve out for a commission of sorts that Congress can name, right? That's what the direction she was trying to go in.
I don't think that's in the 25th Amendment, is it?
Yeah, there's two ways to go about it, because we were just talking about this, because I was interested. This is 18 months ago they proposed this.
I know.
18 months ago, they proposed this as a change, and this is one of the things we talk about all the time. You can not like the person at the top, or you look and like the person at the top. Giving them the power, it means that the next person that you probably don't like gets it as well. And here they wanted to give this commission power to throw the president out based on supposed ideas of mental stability. Would they have that now? Because they certainly wouldn't vote for that now. The Democrats wouldn't vote for that bill now.
Of course not.
Because they know what would happen.
Republicans would come in and use it, and we should not push for it. It's a very, very bad thing. The 25th Amendment was written because they thought there was a chance that John Kennedy would survive with brain damage, and there was no way to get him out of office.